What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, and let me tell you something right now. We need to have a serious conversation. We're not talking about X's and O's today. No. We're talking about something far more insidious. Something that cuts right to the very heart and soul of sports. We're talking about cheating, the scandals, the lies, the absolute unmitigated gall of athletes who we once called heroes, who we worshipped, only for them to spit in the face of the game and, more importantly, in the face of the fans. Today we're going to peel back the curtain on some of the most diabolical, the most shocking, the most unbelievable cheating scandals in the history of sports. First up, we have to talk about a man who wasn't just an athlete. He was a global phenomenon, a symbol of hope, a cancer survivor who conquered the most grueling sporting event on the planet. I'm talking, of course, about Lance Armstrong. For years this man was untouchable. 7 consecutive Tour de France titles. 7! It was a story so perfect, so inspiring, that it felt like it was ripped from a Hollywood script. But let me be unequivocally clear, it was all a lie. A disgusting, calculated, and elaborate lie. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency finally brought the hammer down. They released a report over 1,000 pages long detailing what they called the most sophisticated, professionalized, and successful doping program that sport has ever seen. Those 7 Tour de France titles? Stripped, gone, erased from the history books as if they never happened. Let's take it back to 1988, the Seoul Olympics, the men's 100-meter final. This was the most anticipated event of the entire games. You had the brash, muscular Canadian Ben Johnson going up against the golden boy of American track and field, the great Carl Lewis. The world stopped for 9.79 seconds. And in that flash of time, Ben Johnson didn't just win, he annihilated the field. He was crowned the world's fastest man. But the glory was fleeting. The news broke like a thunderclap. Ben Johnson had failed his post-race drug test. The substance? An anabolic steroid called stanozolol. The gold medal was stripped, the world record was nullified, the hero became a zero in the blink of an eye. Now we move from the track to the ice rink. This next story is not just about cheating to win a competition, this is a story of malice. This is a story of thuggery. On one side you had Nancy Kerrigan, graceful, elegant, the media-friendly ice princess. And on the other side you had Tonya Harding, the gritty, powerful, athletic skater from the wrong side of the tracks. This rivalry took a dark, criminal turn on January 6, 1994. At the U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Detroit, Nancy Kerrigan was brutally attacked. A man struck her on the right knee with a collapsible baton. The infamous video of Kerrigan on the ground crying out, why, is absolutely heartbreaking. The investigation quickly unraveled a plot that was as clumsy as it was vile. Some athletes cheat with a syringe, some cheat with a baton, and some, my friends, cheat with the hand of God. The scene is the 1986 World Cup quarter-final in Mexico, Argentina versus England. This wasn't just a soccer match, the Falklands War was still fresh in the memory of both nations. And in the 51st minute, Maradona produced one of the most infamous moments in sports history. He punched the ball into the net, with his hand. The referee didn't see it. The goal stood. It was a clear, undeniable act of cheating. After the match, he delivered the immortal line. It was scored a little with the head of Maradona, and a little with the hand of God. The sheer audacity, the gall to invoke the divine to justify a blatant act of fraud. Let's move to the world of tennis, a sport that prides itself on etiquette and fair play. This brings us to Maria Sharapova. For over a decade she was at the pinnacle of women's tennis. In March of 2016, Sharapova called a press conference. What she announced sent shockwaves through the tennis world. She had failed a drug test at the Australian Open. The 5-time Grand Slam champion was a drug cheat. The substance was meldonium. Sharapova's defense was that she had been taking this substance for a decade for various health issues. Here's the problem. WADA had added meldonium to its list of banned substances on January 1, 2016, with multiple warnings. Do you believe that a multi-million-dollar enterprise like Team Sharapova simply missed the memo? It seems to be a stunning level of incompetence at best, or at worst, it's a convenient excuse. This next story is so breathtakingly simple, so brazen in its execution, that you almost have to laugh at the sheer audacity. This is not a story of performance-enhancing drugs, it's a story of performance-enhancing transportation. On April 21, 1980, Rosie Ruiz was crowned the winner of the women's division of the Boston Marathon. But almost immediately, things didn't add up. No one remembered seeing her during the race. How could this unknown runner have run such a blistering time? The investigation began and the story quickly unraveled into a farce. Two Harvard students came forward and said they saw her burst out of the crowd of spectators, only about a half-mile from the finish line. A photographer later said she had met Ruiz on the subway during the New York Marathon and rode with her to the finish area. 8 days after her supposed victory, Rosie Ruiz was officially disqualified. Her name became synonymous with cheating. What happens when the cheater is the one person on the court who is supposed to be the impartial arbiter of the rules? This next scandal strikes at the very foundation of professional sports. Tim Donaghy was an NBA referee for 13 seasons. We put our faith in men like him to call the game fairly. But Tim Donaghy shattered that faith. He was not just a referee, he was a gambler. And worse, he was betting on games that he himself was officiating. In 2007, the FBI launched an investigation. Donaghy was providing inside information to professional gamblers. He could directly manipulate the point spread of a game by making certain calls. Donaghy eventually pleaded guilty to 2 federal felony charges and was sentenced to 15 months in prison. It forced fans to ask a terrible question. Is the game I'm watching on the level? For that, Tim Donaghy is one of the biggest villains in modern sports history. Let's talk about Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod. No player embodies the promise, the hubris, and the spectacular fall from grace of the steroid era quite like him. In 2009, he admitted to steroid use, apologized, and promised it was all in his past. But it was all a lie. He was still cheating. The final damning chapter was the Biogenesis scandal, a black market pharmacy that had a client list reading like an MLB All-Star roster. And the biggest name? Alex Rodriguez. When the story broke in 2013, A-Rod went on the attack. He denied everything, sued everyone, and proclaimed his innocence. But the evidence was overwhelming. Commissioner Bud Selig suspended him for 211 games, the longest non-lifetime ban in baseball history. He had lied to his team, to the fans, and to the commissioner's face. A man who should have been a first-ballot Hall of Famer is now a permanent outcast. Now this one is going to get some people riled up. We're talking about the GOAT, the greatest quarterback to ever lace up cleats. Tom Brady and his New England Patriots. For 2 decades they were a dynasty, but their incredible run was shadowed by accusations of cheating, and no scandal defined this more than Deflategate. The Patriots demolished the Colts 45-7, but the Colts noticed the footballs felt soft, underinflated. The NFL investigation concluded it was more probable than not that Patriots personnel had deliberately deflated footballs and that Brady was generally aware. Brady was asked to turn over his cell phone. What did he do? He had it destroyed. That act of destroying potential evidence was the nail in his coffin. Commissioner Roger Goodell suspended Brady for 4 games. It left a permanent asterisk next to that championship season and a stain on the otherwise impeccable legacy of the greatest of all time. For our final story, we must go back to 1919, to a scandal so profound that it almost destroyed America's pastime: the Chicago White Sox versus the Cincinnati Reds, the Black Sox scandal. The White Sox were one of the greatest teams ever assembled, heavy favorites to win. They had star players like Shoeless Joe Jackson, a phenom with a swing so pure that Babe Ruth said he copied it. But there was deep resentment on that team. A group of players conspired with gamblers to intentionally lose the World Series in exchange for a massive payday. The fix was in. In Game 1, pitcher Eddie Saccott hit the first batter, a prearranged signal that the fix was on. The heavily favored White Sox lost the series 5-3. When the truth came out, Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis banned all 8 players for life. The scandal remains the original sin of American sports. So there you have it. From Lance Armstrong's web of lies to the thuggery of Tonya Harding, from the hand of God to the deflated footballs of a dynasty. These are stories that make you question everything. They show how the burning desire to win can curdle into something ugly, something corrupt. These athletes reached the pinnacle of their sports, but they did so standing on a foundation of deceit, and when that foundation crumbled, the fall was spectacular and devastating. But now, I want to hear from you. Which of these scandals shocked you the most? Was it the sheer scale of Armstrong's doping empire, the courtroom drama of Tom Brady, or the century-old betrayal of the Black Sox? Let me know in the comments below. And please, if you found this journey through the dark side of sports as fascinating as I did, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Until next time, stay passionate.